The cursor on my bank screen moved by itself. Someone was trying to steal my savings. My hands didn't shake. I just took a breath and froze every account. At 70, I've learned calm beats panic every time, but that was only the beginning. The morning air in Savannah carried that soft mix of salt and magnolia, the kind that tells you fall's almost here, but not quite. I sat on my porch. Harold's old watch snug around my wrist, its gold face glinting in the low light. The porch fan hummed above me, slicing the heat as I sipped coffee from my French press and sorted through the stack of mail. Mostly HOA updates and charity flyers. A quiet life, by most measures. The kind you build after the storms have passed. Still, there was that whisper I never shook off, the fear of becoming invisible. I wasn't afraid of dying alone. I was afraid of being erased while still alive. The phone buzzed beside my coffee cup, that light trill breaking the morning calm. A family group chat blinked open. Callista's name flashed first, my daughter-in-law, polished like her career ads. The message was short, clipped, and cold enough to sting. We've all agreed you're no longer part of the family. Don't come to any gatherings. For a second, I thought it was a mistake. Then Miles, my son, tapped like... The blue thumbs up sat there, absurdly cheerful against the cruelty. My breath caught, but I didn't type back. I've learned silence can cut deeper than a scream. The porch suddenly felt too small, the fan too loud. My coffee tasted burnt. Across the street, Mrs. Pennington waved from her yard, and I lifted my hand automatically. That southern instinct of grace, even when the heart stings. Inside, I stared at the message again. Its brightness almost mocking. Years of Sunday dinners, Christmas photos, and late-night bailouts all flickered through my head. Then I noticed something else. The group name had changed. The Vance family. My name. Gone. My pulse slowed, not quickened. They want me quiet and paying, I whispered. Choose one. Habit pulled me to my desk. I opened the Vance Family Foundation website. My founder's profile. Deleted. The pastel blue logo I'd designed. Still there, just rebranded under A Vance Legacy. My donation history remained, but my name had vanished, scrubbed clean. Even the automated thank you emails had switched from the Morrow Vance Fund to simply the Vances. I tried my admin login. Error. The password reset redirected to Miles's email. A dull pressure settled behind my ribs. I wasn't just uninvited. I'd been erased. Every small kindness, every bailout, every check. They'd rewritten it all as theirs. I took screenshots, every tab, every receipt, every missing name. Then I whispered, steady and low, noted, memory bit back. I could still hear Callista crying over her mortgage when the layoffs hit in 2020. I covered her payments, called it, a temporary loan. Then Riley's braces, those $4,000 I wired just until things ease up. At the gala that same year, I paid the caterer when the sponsor bailed. Mama, we'll pay you back, Miles had said, and I smiled. Foolish, maybe, replying. Family isn't an invoice. The crowd toasted my generosity. Not one remembered who saved the night. Now, gratitude had expired. Respect never arrived. The truth hurt less than the pattern. I'd carried them longer than I'd carried my own grief. But this time, I wouldn't just feel it. I'd respond. I typed a single sentence. Thanks for confirming. I'll cancel all the auto payments. No punctuation beyond a period, no lecture. Just business. I reviewed each bill, tuition, HOA, car insurance, and noted which accounts bore my name. This ain't my first rodeo, I muttered. Calm, methodical, deliberate. I wouldn't wreck what I'd already promised vendors. But by sunset, every open drain would close. Then I pressed send. The screen stayed still for a second. Then the typing dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again like they couldn't decide how to react. I placed my phone face down, walked inside, and began filing. Autopay canceled, beneficiary updated, admin access revoked, notifications stacked like dominoes. Harold's watch ticked on the counter. I breathed in the silence, heavier now, but mine again. When I finally lifted the phone, the unread alerts had multiplied. 5, 10, 19. I smiled faintly. They wanted me gone from the family. I wondered how they'd like being cut from the budget. The phone started screaming before I finished my tea. The counter trembled with each buzz. Unknown. Callista. Miles. Their names flashing like warning lights. I turned the volume down, then up again. Not sure which silence felt better. I'd said what I said. Not my first rodeo. My voicemail app blinked red like a pulse. The first one began with a voice I hadn't heard that tight since the gala, and I let it sit there, untouched. I scrolled through my checklist instead. Tuition drafts frozen, joint cards rerouted, family cell plan canceled. Every item had a small, quiet done beside it. My hands didn't shake. The panic wasn't mine to hold anymore. A truck slammed outside, followed by laughter that didn't belong to me. Savannah evenings could feel thick enough to drink, and tonight the air clung to my skin. I switched the porch light off, set the kettle on, and turned Harold's watch face inward, a small ritual of privacy. Miles's voice carried faintly from the phone, preaching about elder safety, that rehearsed concern that hides control. I muted him with a thumb tap. Then I texted Riley, my grandson, a simple line. Eat supper before it gets cold. Baby, that was all. I'd keep one bridge standing. On the table, my foundation binder lay open, receipts stacked like witness statements, the gala program folded between them, each envelope marked with a date in thick Sharpie. The air smelled of lemon cleaner and consequence. The doorbell rang twice. Sharp, impatient, I didn't move. If they wanted in, they'd wait until I decided to open. The sound triggered something. A memory cut clean as glass. Last month's gala, the downtown Civic Center, glowing gold and expensive. I'd come early. As usual, check in hand to cover the shortfall. My seat card read E. Morrow, table 12. Funny how mistakes only happen to certain names. The donor wall glistened with the Vances, centered in perfect typeface. Mine crouched near the bottom, misspelled as Marrow. Smile for me, Mama. Optics matter, Callista had said, Mo, tugging at my navy shawl, the one she picked because it photographs better. The sequins on her dress scattered light like lies. Play the part, I'd told myself. I sat through speeches and string quartets until the MC called. Founders who made tonight possible. He read 3 names, not mine. Then came E. Marrow for logistics support. Laughter rippled soft but deadly. I counted 7 claps at my table, none from my family's row. Miles lifted his glass, toasting the donors. Eyes forward, the camera panned past, missing me entirely. I folded my napkin with precision, smiled just enough. Behind me, someone whispered, That's her, the mom? Just the one who writes the checks. I wrote the time on my program, 8:47 p.m., the moment they edited me out in real time. After the segment, I slipped backstage. Callista appeared, all shimmer and nerves. Mama, can we not do faces tonight? She said, her voice sugar-cut. I asked, Who changed the foundation portal admins? She smiled, thin, managerial. We consolidated to streamline donors. You're retired. Mama, retired, like generosity had an expiration date. Outside, the freight dock door was half open. The poster by it bore my design, the serif font, the indigo gradient, my signature style credited to Vance Legacy Team. I took a photo, tucked it into my clutch. The wind off the river smelled of diesel and revelation. If you can't give me my name, I thought, you don't get my number. Now. Back in my kitchen, the present roared. 50 missed calls, group texts. Mom, what did you do? You're scaring Riley. We can fix this if you apologize publicly. I made tea, filed each printed statement into the binder. One screenshot after another, Miles had posted online about protecting elder finances. The irony could have lit the street, dusk pressed against the window. The doorbell rang again, longer this time. I straightened the binder, flipped my phone's camera on, and placed it face up by the door, through the glass. Callista stood in the porch light, Miles half a step ahead. I opened the inner door but kept the glass closed. Evening, I said. You folks need something besides my wallet? Miles's jaw flexed. You've jeopardized. I raised one hand. Silence landed heavier than words. Callista tried a new tone, soft and pleading. "Mama, be reasonable." I nodded toward the table where the gala program waited. "If you want to talk, start with my full name." She hesitated, eyes flicking to the evidence. Then, quieter than a prayer, she said, "Evelyn Morrow." I didn't smile. I just rested my palm on the latch. If they wanted an audience, they could buy a ticket, tonight. They'd pay with the truth. The latch slid with a clean click. I kept the glass door closed, enough space for air but not for intrusion. My phone, propped upright on the foyer table, blinked red, recording steady. I met their eyes with the calm that comes from finally meaning what you say. "Evening," I greeted, tone flat as marble. "We'll keep this short. Porch only, no raised voices." Miles wore that politician smile he borrowed from television, wide, rehearsed, and empty. "Just checking on you. Miss Morrow," he said, layering fake concern over control. I noted how Mama had become Miss, since I'd canceled the payments. Callista reached for nostalgia. "Mama, this is a misunderstanding." Her eyes flicked to the phone and back to me. I set my terms. 5 minutes, porch only. No exceptions. In my mind, I repeated it like prayer. My threshold, my terms. Miles went first, as expected. "We've been worried," he began, lowering his voice for effect. "Some of your recent choices, canceling tuition drafts, the cell plan, well, they seem impulsive. We're just thinking about elder safety." He said it slow, like testing a trap. I let the words land before I spoke. "I'm competent, Miles, licensed for decades, still read my own statements, and this conversation's being recorded for clarity." His smile cracked. Callista froze, unsure whether to perform or retreat. I quoted his text from the group chat, "The one that disowned me." He stammered. "That was a misclick." I leaned a little closer to the glass. "Who told the foundation tech to remove me as admin?" Silence answered before either of them could. I pointed to the table behind me. The gala program, time-stamped, and the poster photo printed out. "I keep records," I said softly. Callista changed strategy. "We can fix this. Mama, next gala, your name up front, I promise. Just turn those payments back on." Her tone was coaxing, a sales pitch disguised as affection. I smiled. Not kindly. Dignity isn't negotiable. Accuracy before generosity. I listed my terms. Written corrections. Restored admin access. Public acknowledgement of authorship. I offered one grace. Riley's school lunch fund would stay active this week. "Everything else," I said, "is paused." She sighed. "Family shouldn't be transactional," I replied. "Respect isn't optional." The air between us thickened, but I stayed still, posture steady, voice measured, then I laid it out plain. Cell authorizations revoked, cards reverted, donor acknowledgments queued for correction. Miles's jaw tightened. I continued. "Georgia's a one-party consent state. This record stays, and tomorrow I'll be speaking with Arthur Keene about the next steps." "You're punishing us," he snapped. "No," I said. "I'm documenting consequences." I slipped an envelope under the door, typed bullet points of every correction I required before a single draft resumed. He looked down at it like it might burn. The porch light hummed, catching the sweat at his temple. Callista tried to soften again, her voice trembling. "You remember that first gala dress I borrowed? You said I looked like success itself." I nodded once. "And then you forgot who tailored it." She blinked, searching for another angle. "We just need time. You have until 10 tomorrow," I replied. "Email me your action items." Miles muttered about optics. "Public perception matters," I answered. "Public records matter more." A car slowed at the curb, neighbors watching. Optics indeed. I ended it cleanly. "This porch meeting is over. Put it in writing." As they turned, both phones lit at once. Through the glass, I saw the group chat flash. Mom's recording us, then another. "She has files." Callista's lips parted. Maybe fear, maybe realization. "Please," she whispered, "not for me, but for whatever audience she imagined." I opened the inner door just enough for her to hear the end. Respect first, then generosity. The bell rang once more, insistent, fading into the hum of cicadas. I locked the deadbolt, lifted the phone, and hit stop. The waveform froze. I saved it under one name, Porch_01. When the house settled back into silence, my email chimed. Subject line, urgent, admin access. The subject line blinked urgent, admin access. The tone tried to sound gentle, the kind that wraps poison in ribbon. I opened the email anyway. They offered temporary admin access if I signed a new NDA to prevent confusion. The wording was slippery. Temporary. Clarity. Standard form. I spotted the tells at once. Wrong footer font, timestamps from Pacific time, though our office ran on Eastern. The logo floated a few pixels off center. Not something a professional designer would miss. I printed the NDA and circled Clause 7, an elegant trap that waived claims to any prior creative work. I whispered to myself, slow is smooth, then typed my reply. Happy to discuss. Zoom at 10 a.m. Bring audit logs and change logs. I forwarded it to Arthur Keene and Viola Trent with a brief, probable NDA trap. Metadata check needed. The coffee pot hissed as I labeled a new folder on my desktop. Admin_, offer NDA trap. By morning, the laptop camera blinked alive. On screen were the board liaison, a PR contractor with too much perfume, and Callista, muted but present. Miles was nowhere in sight. The liaison smiled, voice syrupy. To avoid misunderstanding, Mrs. Morrow, we're offering a temporary role until the review concludes. I tilted my head. Share screen, please. Show admin history. Who downgraded my role last Friday and who toggled off author credit. He hesitated, then complied. The log showed user M. Cartwright hiding brand credits at 10:43 p. The same night as the gala, the PR woman called it a glitch. I asked for the server hash and the log export sent to my email. Her mascara didn't blink. We can clean this internally. I smiled. Transparency is cleaner. I refused to sign any NDA that rewrote authorship. Instead, I proposed full reinstatement and a public correction. They tried to hold poker faces while I set my terms. Restore full admin rights, correct the website and gala program, and send donors an acknowledgement that credits me for the design. The liaison fretted about panic. Truth calms donors, I said. It's deceit that shakes them. I mentioned Riley's school lunch account, one act of grace. That stays open. Everything else remains paused. Callista finally unmuted. It wasn't like that. Mama, we were under pressure. Pressure reveals character, I said, not accidents. I confirmed the meeting was recorded and that my counsel would receive a copy. Their eyes flicked toward each other, already calculating how deep this hole went. I shared my screen next. No speech, just evidence. Original design files, creation timestamps, tax forms, cloud revisions. 2 unpaid draft invoices sat beneath them, dated weeks before the gala. You use these versions, I said, unpaid and uncredited. I displayed a prepared DMCA notice and a board letter draft, both unsent. The PR woman leaned forward. Are you threatening us? No, I answered. I'm documenting. Silence stretched long enough to feel honest. Finally, the liaison asked for 24 hours. 12, I replied. Betrayals had enough time already. I ended the call, sent the calendar invite, and archived the recording. Within an hour, my phone lit up. Miles called twice. I let it ring. He texted, "Perception matters." I replied with the Zoom link and nothing more. A donor friend messaged, "Heard your name was missing." My answer, "Correction pending." I wrote a summary memo to the board chair, NDA analysis, log screenshots, IP list attached. The tone was polite, factual, unyielding. I ended with, "Timely correction earns quiet resolution." Viola texted back, "Clean, you're covered." Evening came soft and heavy. My kitchen table gleamed with order, folders stacked, receipts aligned. The house smelled of mint tea and resolve. Headlights swept across the window. Stopping in the drive, 3 firm chimes at the door. Through the glass, I saw the board chair holding a thin folder, face drawn but steady. He looked right into the porch camera and said, "Miss Morrow, may we correct this tonight?" The board chair's face shone under the porch light, but I didn't unlatch the storm door. His voice carried that late-night diplomacy tone, the one meant to sound reasonable while erasing truth. "We can fix this tonight, Miss Morrow," he said, holding a folder thin enough to hide a dagger. He slid it through the slot. Draft correction. Yes, but only partial. My admin tag restored quietly. A note on the website. Nothing to donors or the printed archive. The second page stung worse. No disparagement clause, private apology, no public acknowledgement. I took my red pen, circled every omission. "All corrections must be public," I said evenly. "Private apologies keep women like me invisible." He flinched when I nodded toward the doorbell camera. "You want it off the record? That ship sailed." He cleared his throat. Tried again. "If you sign tonight, we can give you a legacy page, your name featured prominently." "Legacy without credit?" I asked. "That's a tombstone." I laid my own one-page addendum on the shelf between us. My terms, in black ink: full admin restoration, public correction, donor email, 30-day audit. 12 hours, I said. "After that, DMCA and board notice go live." He balked at donor email. I reminded him of Georgia's solicitation statutes. His jaw tightened. "You're making this adversarial." "No," I said, sliding the document toward him. "I'm making it accountable." He left with a stiff nod. Porch light clicked off behind him. I texted Arthur Keene. "DMCA drafted. Hold till noon." Then I filed the folder under corrective actions and sat a moment, breathing through the ache. Not broken, just recalibrating. At dawn, the smear dropped like clockwork. Callista's post on Facebook, a smiling family photo, captioned, "Caring for loved ones isn't always easy when age complicates tech." By 7:15, a private donor group repeated the same phrasing. Miles's PR fingerprints all over it. Asha texted me. "Let's not make this bigger," I answered. "Facts shrink lies, noon still holds, I composed a short donor update. No adjectives, no blame. Just screenshots, log entries, timestamps, credit proofs. Subject line, correction pending. Receipts enclosed. Within an hour, my inbox flipped. Donors replied, "Didn't realize you designed the entire rebrand." Why hide her name? The smear began to suffocate under its own weight. Miles, cornered. Tried another play. Emailing the board that my recent behavior raised elder competency concerns. I smiled when I saw it. My reply carried 3 attachments. My financial POA listing me as principal, my consultancy invoice from last month, and a doctor's note clearing me for volunteer work. CC the entire board. "If you doubt my capacity," and I wrote, "you doubt every contract you signed with me." At the same moment, I toggled the auto-pay kill switch. Every recurring payment except Riley's lunch account frozen. "Mercy with purpose," I whispered. By 9 a.m., donor threads filled with questions. PR admins disabling comments for verification. Viola texted, "Insurer on standby. Misattribution affects coverage." The tide was turning. Quietly. Lawfully. At 9:30, I walked into the bank with my binder and a calm I'd earned. Manager Ortiz greeted me by name. I explained the unauthorized vendor pulls. She confirmed 2 linked to Callista's LLC. We froze them pending documentation. I added dual authentication for any future transfers. One call to the insurer, Mr. Cole, secured a coverage impact notice sent straight to the board. Another to HOA manager Miss. Delaney ensured my property access list was current. "Miles's code?" she asked. "Cut it," I said, before I left. I texted Riley's orchestra teacher. "He's covered," she replied with a heart in rehearsal time. Back home, the group chat flared. Who triggered the bank lock? Followed by, "Did she cut vendor lines?" I sipped tea and let their panic run its course. By noon, a shadow crossed my porch again. This time, it wasn't the board chair, it was a process server. "Ex parte petition," he said gently. I signed for it, flipping through the pages. Miles claimed I'd weaponized finances to control family contact. Callista attached the group chat as proof. I scanned, photographed, and sent it to Arthur and Viola. Arthur's reply came in 2 lines. "Weak filing. Meet me at Chatham County Courthouse. Bring logs." I slipped the audit binder and addendum into my leather folio. My phone buzzed. Board chair. Interim vote. I didn't open it. I just locked my front door. squared my shoulders, and walked toward the courthouse that loves records more than rumors. Said the record. The courtroom stilled. Judge Hayworth flipped through papers, then said evenly, "This is a records case, not a feelings case." Twist S12 landed in her voice. Petition denied. She ordered preservation of all foundation data and barred deletion or access changes for 48 hours. The gavel tap sounded like punctuation on a lie exposed. Arthur rose again. "We request an evidentiary mini-hearing for context." Permission granted. He displayed Exhibit D, version histories showing Callista's ID deleting my admin tag the night of the gala. Miles stammered something about bulk migration. Then came the thunderbolt. Arthur handed up a whistleblower declaration from an IT volunteer. The judge read silently. Slack messages printed in blue ink. Scrub Evelyn before gala. Miles's thumbs-up emoji. Callista typing, legacy page only. A ripple of murmurs spread. The judge looked over her glasses. "I find credibility issues with petitioners. Bring your board chair by phone." The clerk dialed. The line buzzed to life. The silence afterward carried more weight than shouting ever could. Moments later, Viola's insurer memo hit the court email queue. Misattribution risk, policy exposure, premium impact. Arthur stacked donor reliance emails on top, 3 named contributors citing my design as reason for donations. The judge turned to me. "What do you want? Miss Morrow?" I kept my tone even. "A public correction across assets, donor email, archive errata, and a 30-day audit." Miles muttered, "Overreach." The judge's head snapped up. "Mr. Vance, fiduciary law doesn't vanish because you're family." A pause. Then she added, "This court favors transparency over sentiment." My breath eased, but my spine stayed straight. Vindication isn't celebration. It's gravity returning where it belongs. Then the screens dimmed. On Callista's tablet, the Foundation's gallery flickered gray. Temporarily unavailable due to a rights claim. Arthur didn't even blink. DMCA process initiated. Your Honor. Miles jumped up. "That's sabotage." Arthur replied smoothly. "It's notice and takedown for uncredited content. Automatic, not emotional." Even the judge couldn't hide a smirk. "Counsel, get your board in order. I'm issuing a temporary correction order. Monday, 9 a.m. Bring a board vote and restoration plan." Her pen moved across the ruling. When the gavel dropped for the final time, the record read, "Clear. Preservation. No disparagement. Interim credit line naming me. Evelyn Morrow as original admin and architect." Callista's feed went black. Arthur touched my arm. "No victory dances, just compliance." My phone buzzed. "Board meeting at 6. Outside." The sunlight felt earned. The courthouse doors opened to warm air and the smell of camellias. Truth, for once, had paperwork to match. By dusk, they would either correct the record or learn how expensive erasing a woman like me can be. At 5:59 p.m., the laptop camera reflected the dim light from my dining room. Arthur sat beside me. Tie loosened, tapping the edge of the judge's order with a yellow pencil. "No ad-libbing," he said quietly. "Procedure and liability are mine. Mission and trust are yours." I nodded. My slide open. Records, not feelings. Just 3 lines. Preservation, public correction, 30-day audit. A text blinked from Viola. Insurer on. Premium review pending. I tagged it, Exhibit Risk 1. "Let them see calm," I whispered, adjusting my glasses. The Zoom chime filled the room, each tile a small battlefield, one empty square. Callista's. I straightened my posture. Calm is currency. The board chair appeared, gavel in frame. "Quorum established," she said. Miles leaned into his camera, jaw tight, voice already hot. Arthur requested the record reflect the court's preservation and temporary correction order. The chair shared the PDF. I read the credit line out loud. Evelyn Morrow. Original admin and architect. No sting, no tremor. Miles called it procedural. Arthur countered. "Procedural compliance prevents breach of fiduciary duty." The chair set the agenda. Compliance, donor communication, audit scope, access control, sanctions. "I want this fixed, not burned," I said. The silence after my voice felt older than any courtroom. The evidence recap was surgical. I displayed version logs, timestamped edits tied to Callista's ID. The Slack message reading, "Scrub Evelyn before gala." Miles tried to interrupt. The chair cut him off. I advanced to donor exhibits, emails showing 3 major donors who cited my work as their reason for giving. Arthur stood, adding, "The DMCA lift is automatic once credits return." I looked straight at the board's camera. "When you erase a woman's work at 68, you tell every donor their trust was foolish." The air froze. One trustee muted himself mid-breath, then came outside pressure. Viola joined audio only, her voice crisp. "Board inaction plus misattribution increases exposure and can void coverage." A donor representative followed, plain and direct. "We gave because of Evelyn. Fix it or we freeze." The chair rubbed her temples. Arthur confirmed. "A public correction lifts the DMCA by Monday." Miles suggested rewriting the statement. Arthur declined. "Use the court's language or risk contempt," I added. "Send it to every donor who got the gala email. Don't sweep, clean." The chair's sigh felt like surrender to reason. Motions began. A trustee proposed, adopt the court's wording, initiate audit, enforce access logging. Miles countered with internal review and team recognition. Arthur leaned toward the mic. "Out of order dilutes compliance." The chair agreed. My amendment, 2 signature changes on public assets, passed to the vote. Miles tried again to question my competency. The chair snapped. "That's barred. Next item." The chat feed pulsed enough already from silent trustees. Votes rolled. 1 abstained, the rest, ayes. The correction had to publish tonight. Audit begins Monday. Sanctions followed. Callista suspended from content systems. Miles locked out of messaging. "You're crippling us," he shouted. The chair read aloud the Slack message. "Scrub Evelyn." His jaw fell quiet. Arthur summarized. "Compliance reduces risk," I replied, "and restores faith." A chime interrupted. "Savannah Messenger Services?" The courier confirmed names, dropped envelopes through Miles's visible glass door. Callista's square flickered alive, eyes wide, then vanished. IT notifications followed. Callista removed from HashWeb admin, Miles restricted. Arthur stayed dry. "Service acknowledged." I clicked to my final slide. Restore the record, and the lights come back on. Tasks flew. It pushed the corrected homepage. Donors got a plain language email citing the court order. Arthur drafted a compliance update for the judge's clerk. "We did this the grown-up way," he said. I sent the checklist, URLs, timestamps, screenshots. The gallery relit. Captions restored my name. I didn't smile. I verified. The chair closed with, "Audit starts at 9 sharp. No speeches. At 9:12 p.m. Before I could lift the last takedown, a new alert blinked. Unauthorized transfer request, Morrow, live queue. The bank's fraud line placed me on hold while the cursor moved, trying to slide my balance out the back door. Every archive link updated, every donor gallery restored. I verified timestamps and screenshots, no adjectives, just facts. Viola confirmed the insurer logged positive compliance. Donor emails followed. We corrected the record. Evelyn Morrow is recognized. I read it once. Relief isn't joy, it's exhale. I withdrew every DMCA claim with short technical notes. My silence online became louder than their posts ever were. Text bubbles rolled in before dawn. Apologies disguised as explanations. We didn't know. And it was all Callista's idea. Miles wrote only 2 words. Lawyer up? Callista wrote nothing. A neighbor sent me a screenshot. Her social post deleted after bragging about the project. Too late. The internet never forgets. The board chair's message came last. Audit starts 9 a.m. Monday. Thank you for restraint. I reopened the family group chat where the mess began and typed, auto payments canceled, as promised. Then I muted it for a year. Boundaries, not bitterness. Sunday morning. Arthur filed the compliance update to Judge Hayworth. Audit launched, sanctions enforced, fraud case referenced. We drafted a consent order, permanent credit, dual control on all changes, no contact clauses. I read each line aloud. It didn't sound like revenge. It sounded like adulthood. When the courier arrived for my signature, I used the same fountain pen I'd had since grad school. Ink lasts longer than tempers, my mother used to say. I signed steady that evening. I walked through the quiet house, turning off lights. In the hallway, I straightened a framed photo of my first ribbon cutting, back when no one argued about my authorship. I sent an email to the senior center. Would you like a free design workshop for grandmothers learning CAD? A new kind of legacy. I brewed tea and stood by the window as the marsh darkened. Victory didn't sparkle. It settled. The phone rang one last time. Arthur mouthed. Recording. Miles' voice cracked through. It wasn't me, Mom, it was stress. Everything's fallen apart. I waited until his words emptied. Return every credential, submit to the audit, and keep my name out your mouth unless it's for credit. Break that, and we go from paper to courtroom. He tried again. Mom, I stopped him. Mrs. Morrow will do. Then I ended the call. At sunrise, copper lights spread across the marsh. The home page still bore my name. Comments from donors filled with quiet praise. Viola's email arrived. Audit confirmed. Premium review postponed. Well done. I pinned a note on my fridge. I kept the lights on. Beneath it, another line, and I can turn them off. When I stepped onto the porch, the air smelled like magnolia and new starts. A neighbor waved. I raised my mug in reply. I'm done asking to be seen, I whispered. Then my inbox chimed. Miss Morrow, my mama's credits were erased at her job. Can you teach us how you fought this? Quiet and won. The cursor blinked on a new slide. Records, not feelings. A quiet guide. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, Savannah area code. A woman's voice whispered. They're doing to me what they did to you. I paused, fingers over the keyboard. Then let's begin. The screen faded to black.